So today we're diving into a spiritual book that makes a claim so big, it's pretty mind-blowing. We're not just talking about a collection of old stories here. The author says this book came from a direct, face-to-face divine encounter. Let's get into the story of Sri Krishna Darshanam.
All right, so get this. This is the core claim from the author, Sri Vishwapathi Garu. He's not just saying, oh, I felt inspired. No. He's saying that Lord Krishna himself showed up, gave him a front row seat to an ancient world, and personally dictated these stories. I mean, wow. So the big question is, how on earth did something like that supposedly happen?
Okay, so to get the full picture, you have to know a little bit about the author. Sri Vishwapathi Garu wasn't new to this kind of thing. He's a pretty respected spiritual writer, and he's got over 32 books under his belt. But, after years of grinding, writing, proofreading, even handling the distribution himself, he was just completely burnt out.
He describes this time as just an endless cycle of work. It was totally exhausting, and most nights he'd fall into bed feeling like he had absolutely nothing left in the tank. And it was right there, in that state of pure physical and mental exhaustion, that something truly unbelievable is said to have happened. So, according to the author, a little boy just appeared in his room. Didn't knock, just ran right in, full of energy, and plopped down on the edge of his bed. Imagine that contrast. The author is completely wiped out, and this kid is just buzzing with life. And then, the boy speaks. He invites him to start writing. And this, the author claims, was Lord Krishna himself, in the form of a child ready to share stories from his own life. Now here's a really crucial point. This wasn't just Krishna telling him stories, like dictation. No, the author says that as the stories were being told, he was somehow transported. He wasn't just hearing about this ancient world, he was seeing it, living it, right in front of his eyes. And just for some context, the Dwapara Yuga is the age when the Mahabharata happens. We're talking about a time thousands and thousands of years in our past. And this is the specific time period the author claims he got a first-hand tour of. And what he says he saw is just incredible. He paints this picture of ancient Vrindavanam as this perfect, untouched paradise. The Yamuna River, absolutely pristine. The forests were just alive with color and divine beings. He talks about this feeling in the air, a kind of peace and beauty that you just can't put into words. In fact, he says he could probably write 1,000 pages on the scenery alone. That's how powerful it was. So, okay, beautiful scenery for sure. But what did Krishna actually reveal? Well, according to the author, this book is just packed with stories and little details you won't find anywhere else. It's like a whole new perspective on Krishna's life. One of the first things he mentions is what Krishna actually looked like. You know how a lot of pictures show a kind of plump, cherubic baby? Well, the author says that's not it at all. He describes a slim, super energetic boy with these incredibly bright, active eyes and slightly curly hair. And here's a fun detail. Apparently, Krishna loved to wrap these small, colorful pieces of cloth around his head. And this really gets to a core theme of the book, the journey of souls through time. The author says Krishna would actually point out his childhood friends and then show him who they became in our current age, the Kali Yuga. For instance, there was this one boy who used to play a flute Krishna gave him. Well, that same soul was apparently reborn centuries later as a world-famous musician. That passion just carried right over. One of the most amazing little stories is about this painter in Gokulam. This guy was brilliant. He could paint everything perfectly. The children, the trees, the animals, you name it. But whenever he tried to paint Krishna, nothing. The image just wouldn't show up on the canvas. He was at a complete loss.
It wasn't until the painter finally just gave up, surrendered his ego, and prayed for help that he was able to capture Krishna's image. And here's another incredible claim. The author says that very painting still exists today, but it's a kind of mystical artifact that only shows itself to truly enlightened yogis and great sages.
So, what does any of this have to do with us, right here, right now? Well, according to the author, this book isn't just about telling cool stories from the past, it's meant to carry a very real power and a promise for anyone who reads it. And this is that promise. It's a big one. The author says Krishna told him point blank that anyone who reads these stories with a sincere, open heart will get two things: complete peace of mind and a lifting of their accumulated karmic burdens. But even beyond that personal blessing, the book delivers this massive philosophical idea. It basically wants to reframe how we think about time, about responsibility, about the connection between our past, our present, and our future. And this
This is the real kicker. This is the author's most important message. You know how we always talk about making a better world for future generations? Well, he says we've got it all wrong. Those future generations, they aren't some other people we'll never meet. They're us. We are going to be reborn into the very world that we are creating or even destroying right now. Think about that. The world we're building today is literally the one we have to come back to.
So that leaves us with a pretty heavy question, doesn't it? Suddenly, being responsible isn't just some vague, abstract idea for someone else's benefit. It becomes the ultimate act of self-preservation for our own future lives. It really makes you stop and ask, if we are literally building the world we have to return to, what kind of world are we making for ourselves?